On this now playing episode of View the Right Thing, Wes, Desi, and new guest commentator Duane parachute in with the U.S. Airborne Infantry. It's the day before D-Day of World War II, and American paratroopers have landed behind enemy lines in a village of Nazi-occupied France to complete a mission critical to the success of D-Day. But next to the village is a Nazi bunker that holds a terrifying secret, which poses a threat to the entire balance of the war. Brace yourself for this adventure into a war of the undead in the JJ Abrams production of Overlord, now playing on View the Right Thing.
Hey, how's it going? We're here for another mini episode of View the Right Thing. Yeah, it's super weird because I think I just heard Duane introduce us, and Duane is in this episode. Hi, Duane. How you doing?
It's time for View the Right Thing with Duane, and I'm going to turn my radio voice off now because that's going to
I was going to say, didn't you just say that?
I'm just going to dominate this conversation if I keep that on.
Oh, well,
in terms of volume, I mean.
A little part of me always wanted you to dominate the conversation, so.
Wow.
So, Duane, other than being the voice of our intro, can you tell, who are you? Who is Duane?
Hey, I'm Duane, and I am one of your high school chums. After high school, we kind of lost contact, and we got back together back in the bad old days of MySpace, and we started talking to one another, and you're like, hey, come over and hang out with me sometime. I'm like, all right, and we started hanging out, and you're still like the big movie geek that I knew from high school, and it's been a nonstop roller coaster of you talking about movies ever since, and we're also into geeky stuff, and we do all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, and then you moved away from the Seattle area, and now you're down in the Los Angeles area, but we still chat once in a while and hang out once in a while, and that's more or less about it.
But what do you do? So what do you do?
Oh, what do I do? Oh,
Yeah.
I have your old job, which was at Microsoft, and I do some occasional voiceover work for some production on occasion every once in a while.
You have a little bit of a background in radio, right?
Yeah, I did a stint in college radio and professionally for a while. Didn't really go anywhere with it because, well, the job market for broadcasting is kind of terrible. So
Sure.
You got to go to switch gears and try to find something new. So that's kind of it. But radio's still fun to do. Post-production stuff is fun to do. So it's stuff that kind of sticks with you for a while.
I've loved every single intro you've ever done for us. So I'm the beneficiary of the poor radio work market.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sorry about that. But
well, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah. So since we're gonna talk about a movie that's in the theater, we're gonna bypass what the whole question about what have you seen recently. What trailers have you seen for movies that are coming up that you're really excited for?
Oh, I think one that kind of stands out. It's one that I've kind of been originally I was excited about, but now I'm kind of like, oh, we'll see what happens. Battle Angel Alita, because that's been pushed back quite a few times. But I'm also really interested in seeing Glass.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk Alita first, and then let's talk about Glass. So I'm excited to talk about both these things. So I'm 100% with you on Alita. The fact that they pushed it back to February seems like a really bad sign.
Yeah.
They pushed it back. Not only did they push it back, but the movie they replaced it with is a re-release of Deadpool. So, not a positive sign.
Yeah.
But also, is Robert Rodriguez Day done? He's kind of hacky at this point, isn't he?
I gotta remember what he's done recently. I rewatched Planet Terror recently, and that was one that's a fun movie that I enjoy, but I can't remember offhand what he's done recently.
Well, Sin City comes to mind.
Okay.
Here, I'll pull him up on IMDb while we're discussing possibly filmography, director. He did lots of TV From Dusk Till Dawn, the series.
Oh yeah. He started the El Rey network.
Yeah.
With that.
Some movie called. No, that doesn't come out for 100 years. He did a movie called 100 Years that doesn't come out till 2115. So IMDb's release date for it, the year for it, listed as 2115. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Sin City, Dame to Kill For, which I didn't think was very good. Machete Kills, I didn't see.
I wanted to see that, but I didn't see it either, which I feel kind of disappointed in myself in not seeing because I enjoyed the first Machete.
Yeah, Spy Kids 4. Planet Terror. Not much, but I mean, Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I thought the first Sin City was pretty good, but I don't know. I didn't really like Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I didn't really like the second Sin City. I mean, Planet Terror is supposed to be bad, but that doesn't make it necessarily good either, even though it's like enjoyable, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm very suspect, and the fact that they also push this back makes me.
Yeah, February is not a great sign.
No.
Yeah, like January and February are usually it's the dumping ground of all the crummy stuff. Which a few years ago, when the latest Die Hard movie came out in February. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like that's a summer tentpole movie, like an early summer movie, but they dumped it in February and it didn't do so good. So
right,
yeah, if they push this back, I think this is like the second time they pushed it back. So like you said, it was supposed to be coming out last year, and they pushed it out to December of this year, and then it's been pushed to February next year. So yeah, I don't know.
And the fact that James Cameron didn't direct it, like originally, my understanding was, he got the rights to it, and his plan was to direct it. And I know Avatar happened in between when he got those rights and now, but the fact that he decided not to direct this also is maybe telling. I just don't know how well these stories, comic book and like manga and animation, Japanese animation, so I don't know how well these stories translate to live action. Doesn't seem like they've done very well up to this point. Did you see the Ghost in the Shell movie?
I didn't. I was kind of interested in seeing it, but then the reviews came out and said it was terrible, and so I said I think I'm going to wait on that one.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it yet. I kind of want to see it at some point, but the reviews weren't good at all, and it was one of those things where it's the original Ghost of the Shell I know is very well regarded, and it was just a tale of an American bastardization of it, and they just screwed it up.
Right. Yeah, I didn't see it either, but I was kind of interested in it, and then I just kind of lost interest. I think I might be more interested if I came across a 3D copy and watched it in 3D. I might do it for the gimmick of the 3D, but I don't care about the story at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, the other movie you said was
Glass. Like M. Night, because like M. Night Shyamalan is he's kind of in this comeback phase. So hopefully he's going to put out something that's some quality entertainment.
Okay, so
going with the.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, well, just keeping with the mythology of the series he has going on so far with Unbreakable and Split.
Yeah.
So I'll admit I did not see Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I didn't really like The Happening. But I'm, for the most part, even with those movies, I'm a pretty unashamed M. Night Shyamalan fan.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of his since Wide Awake, since before Sixth Sense, and Unbreakable is one of my favorite movies.
Split was so good too.
Split's great, and
even it was good on its own. We didn't even know it was going to be connected until the very end.
And that moment,
no one did.
Yeah. So
that moment when they revealed it, and I reached over and grabbed Desi's leg.
It was like,
because I'm such a huge fan of Unbreakable, and I've always thought that they were, missing out on an opportunity to do this sort of trilogy, and now they've kind of made it happen. So
yes, looks pretty good. I'm pretty excited for it.
What are you thinking about Glass?
Well, I'm really interested in seeing what they do with it, because I assume this is going to be wrapping up as a trilogy. I don't know that Shyamalan might continue on with it, but again, excited about to see what he does with it. But at the same time, again, it comes out in January, and usually that's not a good sign. So I'm hoping it bucks the trend. I mean, there are gems that you'll find. There are diamonds in the rough during the January, February months. So I'm hoping that he's going to pull this off. So we're going to just have to wait and see what happens, and hopefully something that'll be like, wow, this is really exciting.
Well, I think you bring up a good point too, that that there are gems. I think studios, they know that they Universal knows that Universal releases bad movies in those months. They're kind of throwing those movies away. They also know that Fox does that. So there is some strategy to, hey, we know that there's going to be a bunch of garbage. We'll put something out there that can actually compete with those things and actually gain popularity. I mean, Black Panther was released in February, and that was massive. So, and it seems like pattern-wise, it's been kind of creeping up. The Mummy, so it used to be like nothing big came out until like May.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe The Mummy, the first Brendan Fraser Mummy, maybe came out in April. And I think the first Matrix movie maybe came out in March. So they sort of started experimenting and kind of throwing these unknown quantities out there, especially action-related things. So maybe that's happening, and maybe they're, also you could have a mediocre movie, next to a bunch of really terrible films, and that mediocre movie all of a sudden looks great.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and sometimes you need a break from those Oscar films, right?
Yeah.
You do.
Oh, for sure. And even then, like he sometimes like we were saying, gems, because the Silence of the Lambs came out in January and it became a huge hit, and it won the Oscars the next year, which is kind of a hard thing to do because usually all the big award movies come out at the end of the year.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
I think
when they're fresh.
So just for clarity, I think Silence of the Lambs had a limited release the year prior. In order to be eligible for an Academy Award, you have to be released in the year that the awards are. So if the 2018 awards, which will actually be called the 2019 Academy Awards, are for all the films that come out in between January 1 of 2018 to December 31st of 2018. So there's a bunch of movies. That's why you see, especially at the end of the year, a lot of like in limited release in New York and LA, and then they don't show up till January or February sometimes, because they
want to get it in.
They just want to make sure they get it in. They know that maybe it's not really a competition film for Christmas. I wouldn't release, I'm trying to think of a movie that came out at the end of last year. Or I wouldn't release Call Me by Your Name at Christmas time, right? But I would put it out in limited release for sure because I want to get the award nomination and then maybe release it in January.
Once it's got that award buzz.
Once it's got the buzz. Yeah. Absolutely. So Silence of the Lambs probably fell into that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But you do the Best Picture thing pretty much every year, right?
When I can. The last couple of years have been kind of dicey because I think a couple of years ago, well, last year I wasn't able to do it because Comic-Con here in Seattle was happening, and so the one weekend it was happening, I didn't go. And then a couple of years back, I was actually moving from one apartment to the other, and I missed out. And so the last couple of years have been a little dicey.
Yeah, but
hopefully we'll see what happens next year because I think Comic-Con might happen again on the same weekend when that happens. So I'll have to wait and find out what happens.
Have there ever been doing those like big marathon things like that? Have there ever been any like standout years where you're just like, this was such a great experience, or is it all kind of the same every year?
I think it's kind of the same every year. Like the cool thing is that at least the theater that they do it at, the AMC, like they'll do trivia in between movies, and you can win some prizes. Like usually it's just like a poster or some kind of merchandise, but sometimes they'll give away like movie tickets, and some employees like really seem to enjoy doing it. So it's kind of they kind of put like a little zest into it. So it can be fun depending upon the employees and how they roll with it.
Yeah. Huh.
So
cool.
Trailer wise, we saw a trailer today that I've seen before, but it hasn't come up on the podcast yet because I haven't seen it
since we've been recording again. Do you want to talk about that right now?
So we saw the trailer for Captain Marvel again, and I am super effing excited about it.
So there's something in the trailer. They show something I wish they didn't show. There's a little bit of spoiler, so we'll just try to avoid talking about things in the trailer.
Yeah,
but I know I keep wanting Desi to not see it because I already knew about it ahead of time. And I noticed when the trailer was going on, you looked down when it happened, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, whatever it is, I haven't realized whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I'm like really excited to get a Marvel female hero movie.
Yeah.
On the books, because
and she's gonna be.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really good, and she's looks like she does a great job. And
well, they've kind of already said that Captain Marvel will be the most powerful hero in the MCU.
Right.
So that's also very exciting.
Yes, it's super.
Brie Larson's amazing.
Freaking exciting. And you know, there are a few other ladies that I'm hoping will eventually get their own.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Pictures based off of the success of this. So
yeah,
you know, I'm pretty excited about that.
I saw something today. I saw a trailer today.
Yeah.
For something that we haven't talked about yet.
What's up?
Have you seen the trailer for Escape Room, Duane?
Oh yeah.
I think this is the first time I actually watched it.
Yeah, so this is the first time I've seen it in the theater. I think maybe one other.
Maybe I did see it online, and then I saw it in the theater today. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember seeing that trailer.
Man, I love it. I love a good gimmick movie. I mean, I just really, 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 really love a gimmick in a film.
I'm excited about that. I think it'll be good.
I mean, it's in January, so probably.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, I agree.
And entertaining.
I agree.
But there's like a set in the trailer that like just makes me
the bar set.
Yeah. I won't like spoil it in case anybody hasn't seen the trailer, but like
it's a great moment.
As just like a kind of a set decorating geek a little bit, I'm just like, oh my god, that looks like it was so much fun to do. So
yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. You know, again, it comes out in January, which makes me. I think it was originally scheduled to be released this fall, and then I don't know if it just wasn't ready or they don't have faith in it or whatever. But it ended up in January. But you know, horror films can do pretty well. I think Cabin in the Woods came out before spring, maybe March, the year that came out, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm quite excited for Escape Room. Does anybody know? Have they seen anybody see anything about it maybe being in 3D? I would like it to be in 3D.
I don't remember.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything about it being in 3D. But
that's too bad. That would be good in 3D. Okay, well, anything else anybody wants to talk about? Any other trailers that anybody wants to talk about in particular?
So.
Move on to our main attraction. Sound good, Duane?
On to the main attraction.
All right,
let's do it.
So we saw Overlord, which is a World War II mutant. I don't know. How do you describe this film?
I mean, I think mutant probably
infected,
kind of covers it.
An infected film. They're kind of like infecteds.
Yeah. It's sort of a pseudo zombie, I'd say.
Okay, yeah, but that's sort of like that's how I look at infected. Is like infected are kind of like zombies, but they're not technically necessarily undead.
But they're also not infected by a disease.
No, but yeah, I mean, 28 days later, aren't they infected by a man-made creation as well?
Oh, I don't know.
They're doing like experiments or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the rage virus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't think you have to be, whatever. So did the movie seem loud to you, Duane? Because our movie was incredibly loud.
I think it was a little bit above average in terms of volume. So yeah, the theater I saw it at was pretty loud. Part of that I think was because there was probably maybe only half a dozen people in the theater with me.
Yeah,
so I don't know if the human element may have absorbed some of that or not. So, but yeah, it was a bit loud, but it wasn't ear-piercingly bleeding from the ears loud.
Right. So I would say if you're looking for a loud, explosive in many ways, action-y kind of film, this kind of fits that bill right now.
It's definitely gory. Violent.
So basically, these paratroopers are being sent in behind enemy lines just the night before the Normandy invasion, right. And they're tasked with taking down a radio tower, so that way the troops can. So
the air support can get to the beach.
So they can get to the beach, and of course, all hell breaks loose almost immediately in the film, and throws a wrench in the plans. So So just a quick reminder, we're going to real quick say whether we liked it, whether we recommend it. And then after that point, there are potential spoilers for any of our listeners. So first question, Duane, did you like this film?
Did I like it? Yes, I did. I think it knows what it is, and it doesn't exactly reinvent any wheels, but it's something that I did enjoy.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I think I feel pretty much the same. I mean, it's definitely not for everyone. It is very gory and bloody and violent,
right?
But it's fun and actiony, and like you said, like Duane said, you know what it knows what it is,
right?
And it's it's not trying to be something that it isn't, and so yeah.
So for me, when the movie ended, I liked the movie. Having given it some thought, I loved the movie. I just, the more I think about watching that film and how much I was enjoying it, and it didn't feel like it was a long runtime or anything. Like, it didn't feel like there was like what we call shoe leather, right? It didn't feel like there were pacing issues really. And kind of to what you said, Duane, like they're not reinventing the wheel, but they know what they are. Like, I think they kind of leaned into that, which was really neat.
Yeah.
Duane, would you recommend, if somebody was into this kind of film, would you recommend this as like a $10 to $15 ticket?
I would say I would go with a matinee on this one. I mean, if this is something that you're not really, and when I say like the matinee, I have kind of like high standards as to what you would want to pay, and I'm usually one that goes to matinees all the time anyway, just because I'm frugal. Sure. But I say this is like a really solid matinee. And so if this is a genre of a film that, hey, this kind of appeals to me, I might like this. I think you'll definitely get your money's worth for that. Might be pushing it a little bit if you pay full price.
What did you think, Des?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that assessment.
You're in the matinee camp.
Yeah, I mean, we're as I'm sure our listeners probably know by now, we do that A-list, so it's a little easier for us to see things without having to pay full price.
Sure. I feel like if you're really into the genre, I think it's a must, regardless of, like, I think it's a $15 ticket. If you're really into the genre and you can see it on FOMAX or whatever, fake IMAX thing that AMC's doing.
Yeah.
I think the sound's good, and I think the picture quality's pretty vibrant. I think if you're really into that genre, then I think it's absolutely worth a $15 ticket. I think if you're an average moviegoer who just likes to see a lot of movies, but you don't necessarily love it, I think you guys are probably right. Matinee is probably pretty accurate. And if you're, my mom, then don't go see this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of in line with you guys on that. So let's talk about what we liked and what we didn't like about the film. Let me just start with one thing. What I have thought about more throughout the day, because we saw this earlier today. What's making me like the movie more and more is that it's a blend of genres in a way that I feel like hasn't been done this successfully. If you took the horror elements out of the film, I think it could stand alone as a pretty standard military film.
Yeah.
Usually when you introduce all the horror stuff, when you remove the horror, it doesn't work. But I think this still could have really easily been a film about guys behind enemy lines trying to like overcome the odds and take out this tower.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just happen to also fall into a horror movie.
Right.
I don't know. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I can see that in the way that you're saying it. It would be, but I think at the same time it probably might be a little bit of like more of like a run of the mill kind of World War II movie if you keep it like that. It would be something. Sure. It would be pretty short, but it would still be like it's good, but it's nothing that really like stands out.
Yeah,
they would have is what kicks it up.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to like add scenes to like make up for the runtime. I think they would probably have more stuff with the young French woman and
and maybe more of a romance element. I mean, they don't force that in this movie at all, which I think it's actually fine. I mean, for what it is.
Yeah.
for it being kind of a horror movie, you don't need
it. I kind of actually appreciated that they did that they didn't tack on a romantic subplot. I mean, there's like a little subtleness there, but it's not there, which I rather enjoyed.
Yeah. Okay. So spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. I recommend you go see it first. But if you don't care, here we go. So talking about the potential romance thing, let's say hypothetically, not that our young French heroine needs to end up with any of these guys at the end of the film, but if she were to end up with someone, who does she end up with?
Well, I think Boyd.
Boyce? Is it Boyce? Boyce, I think?
Boyce. Sorry, Boyce.
Okay. What do you think, Duane?
Yeah, it leans to Boyce for sure.
I think
he's the one that they have the strongest bond with.
I agree. I think it's the Italian guy for saving her little brother. She's patching him up at the end, and I'm thinking he's kind of like when the movie starts, you kind of really hate him. He's such the typical, like, you've seen him in so many military movies, you've seen this character in so many horror films. You're like, this guy's gonna die, and I'm gonna enjoy it when he dies because he's gonna kind of deserve it. And then he redeems himself by the end of the film, and kind of comes to terms with this kid. And I was kind of like, oh, is she gonna end up with him? That'd be kind of cool. Okay. I thought the effects were pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
The only shot that really stood out in my mind that I didn't love was when he tumbles out of the aircraft at the beginning of the film. The end over end. I liked the concept of it.
Yeah.
I liked the execution for the most part, but there was something about the way they like oversaturated some things that it made the background feel real fake to me. I don't know. Anybody
didn't stand out to me.
Anything effects wise that stood out?
I mean, there were some good effects that stood out to me.
Yeah. No, good, I mean, good or bad, yeah.
Yeah, no. So the main villain, the first time you see like his face with the big hole in it, that looked pretty.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic! I was like, oh, gross.
That was something I really enjoyed because it was they kind of. It was something that you kind of saw that they were going to reveal to you, and it reminded me a lot of when Two-Face is revealed in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
That they kind of keep it out of frame, but then he just turns and shows it to you, like, ugh.
Yeah.
So seeing that chunk of flesh blown off and his jaw open like that, like, oh, that's pretty nasty.
I will say,
so I thought that was really well done. Whether it was practical effects or digital or a blend of both, it looked great.
Yeah. And the way he smiled with that there as well also was so unsettling. My only criticism with that is that they showed that in the Red Man trailer, so I had that already kind of spoiled for me going in, and it was, and I think it was a thumbnail for something as well. So I was a little disappointed that I knew that moment was going to be like, as soon as he got shot, I was like, oh, this is how this is going to happen. But I thought, man, I really loved that opening in the airplane with Bokeem Woodbine and all the different sort of like trope guys there, and there's one guy's thrown up, and the gunfire. It's interesting because they show that was such a kickoff piece for the trailer that came out, so we knew that the plane was going to get all shot up and stuff.
Right.
But the fact that happened and that scene kept going and going and going, and there was so much more to it.
Yeah.
I really appreciated.
Yeah, it was pretty good. What's the guy's name who plays Boyce?
That's a really great question, because I kept going, do I know this? Do I recognize it? Jovan
Adepo?
Yeah, Adepo. Or
yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I butchered his name. Jovan Adepo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a really fantastic job, I thought, in the underwater sequence after he falls out of the plane, like getting himself free from the parachute, and then like cutting the parachute open at the top of the water. I thought he did a really good job with that. I'm sure that's not an easy scene to shoot.
I appreciated how well they showed him progress from being afraid to being the hero.
Yeah.
A lot of times there's just like a moment where like a switch flips, but as the movie progresses, like he does like one little thing more every time he's confronted with something. So I appreciated the fact that they started to build that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just checking so this is a bad robot thing, right?
Yes.
So they said it was initially thought that this was going to be a Cloverfield universe thing, and then they said it wasn't. Are they lying to us?
I don't know. I don't feel like there was anything that specifically tied it to Cloverfield for me. I mean, I think it easily could fit in that universe, but I don't necessarily think it does or it needs to.
Where are you following that, Duane?
I don't think it does. Not that I can really tell. I mean, there is some revisionist history in this, and there are in the Cloverfield universe, there are it's not taking place on the same Earth every time it happens.
Right.
So it's there is the potential of some sort of like alternate universe that they're trying to aim to, but I don't think this is part of that.
Well, and it can be so like in Cloverfield Paradox, they established that stuff could happen on the same Earth that didn't happen before, that essentially like something could happen in the past. Like time is very fluid in that universe, right? Yeah. So in theory, all the things that are happening in the future could have caused things to change in the past.
Yeah.
So my question is, where do they get the serum for this film? Like, where does all of this very like unrealistic stuff come from? I believe it's Cloverfield. I think maybe it's wish fulfillment. Maybe.
I mean, I felt it was very contained. I mean, like it's interesting because, you know, like you guys said, it is kind of revisionist history, but they sort of frame it in a way like it's like, oh, you just didn't know about it. Like, you know, like we just we blew it up and we didn't tell anybody and we just kept it a secret, and like, well, I mean, we all know that the Nazis did horrible things to humans,
and there was also this quest to find like a super soldier. I mean, that's what Captain America is based on, right? So,
but they kind of talk about it being like it's super brief, but the guy mentions it being like whatever this tar that's just under France.
Yeah, exactly.
They have extracted this serum.
But where does the tar come from? From an alien that crashed so hard into the Earth that it's like hibernated and gooified underneath. That's what I think.
Could be. Absolutely could be. I also felt like they left it open that it could just be some natural phenomenon that they've somehow extracted, you know, something useful out of it. I don't know.
Like, imagine if you could inject Cloverfield monster into your body, you would turn into part monster. Right? I'm holding on to this theory.
Okay. It's
and I'm sure you're not the only one, Wes.
Yeah, but I just feel like the other movies that have been connected to that universe, they make it pretty clear that it's connected.
Yeah, they make a much stronger case for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more connective tissue.
Not in 10 Cloverfield Lane. The only connections we get to that are in Cloverfield Paradox, which came after it.
Yeah, I guess.
Right? Eh?
And they did try to tell us that 10 Cloverfield Lane was not connected.
Exactly, they did, didn't they? So I'm just saying they have a history of telling us one thing and it really means something else. And one day I will be vindicated and you both will come to me on your knees groveling and apologizing.
That's gonna definitely happen.
I'm so sorry I didn't buy into your theory.
Well, this Wes is why you don't show your hand too early, right? That's why you should have placed bets on this, all right?
Yeah, don't celebrate before you win.
So, yeah. Exactly. So like, hey, who wants to put down money or something? Yeah. But no, too late, man.
Yeah.
So
now we know you've made such a strong case for it. We're like, well, you could be right. So.
Do you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I watched the first few seasons and then I lost track of it, and so I haven't seen it in the last like maybe 2 or 3 years. So I haven't seen it at all recently at all. I've not been following it.
So Ian DeCasticker is in this, and I I really liked seeing him do an American accent in this film.
Yeah.
I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah. He doesn't have like a ton of lines, but he did a good job.
There was one moment where I thought, "Oh, is he Scottish again?" But, but I think for the most part, like I thought he did a really great job. It's weird, like thinking about this film and thinking about a movie like Saving Private Ryan, which also takes place on D-Day.
Yeah.
And how there's a writer that's with the group, or somebody that's sort of like, he's almost like he wants to take his typewriter with him. He's essentially a journalist, right?
Right. Yeah.
And these guys that have a small group that have to go on this essentially a suicide mission, a mission against all odds.
Yeah.
And then this really graphic opening, it's like the D-Day invasion, but in the sky.
Right.
So I mean, not as clear and not quite as horrific, but which is interesting that Saving Private Ryan is more horrific than.
Right. Well, it's horrific in a different way.
Right.
You know, it's very.
It's realistic, which makes
realistic and visceral, and like you're, it's.
It was in
more.
It was intentionally gunning for emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's. I mean, I don't know. Is there anything else to say about this movie? It's fun.
Yeah, I love the moment when the Chloe character gets the flamethrower.
Yes. So I've been on this 365-day movie challenge thing.
Yeah.
And every day I've been posting a photo on Instagram, and I'm scheduling them out ahead of time because I'm way ahead right now. And so the photo I chose was her with the flamethrower.
Like her face is just like perfect.
Yeah.
It's like her revenge,
I did think of something else that I thought was really great in the film. The surround sound in the film, I thought the sound was superb. It's one of the best uses of surround sound because you really get a feel, like when they're in the forest, you really get a feel for the forest. You hear different foresty sounds all around you.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated how solid that was. I was just looking at the director to see if he's done much of anything else.
Yeah. The guy who plays the other like main character, what's his name?
Wyatt Russell, Ford. Corporal Ford.
Corporal Ford. I thought he did a really fantastic job.
He's kind of come out of nowhere, huh?
Yeah.
If you notice this guy, like all of a sudden popping up in a bunch of things, Duane?
I thought he was because when I first saw him, I was trying to remember who, like he reminds me. He looks like someone else. Like I know him, but I just can't remember. I can't remember his name offhand. But yeah, he's like that guy that like he was that guy that was in that thing. That guy.
Well,
that's kind of who he is.
Well, I'll tell you why you probably recognize him. He's Kurt Russell's kid, and he played young Kurt Russell in Soldier.
Oh,
but like all of a sudden, like. Just in and he's done some movies before like this last year or so, but maybe I'm just now starting to see them, but like I saw Table 10 in this last year with Anna Kendrick. He's in that. Mm-hmm. I saw Everybody Wants Some, the Richard Linklater movie, this last year. He's in that. He's in Black Mirror.
Yeah.
He's in the great video game episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
I think in season 2 or 3. Yeah, I can't remember. So I don't know. I just feel like all of a sudden I've just been seeing him. Oh, he was in the sequel to the Goon, the Sean William Scott movie about the hockey player.
Oh yeah.
Ingrid Goes West. He's in that. So yeah, I just feel like all of a sudden I'm seeing him all over the place.
All over the place, yeah. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I like him a lot. All right, last chance. Anything else? We all liked it.
Yeah.
We all had a good time.
Yeah. It was worth the time, worth the money. It's if you're into World War II, I would say if you're, it reminded me in a way sort of the end of Inglourious Bastards.
Mm-hmm. The fantasy.
It was sort of like quite a bit of mayhem in that. So if you liked the way that Inglourious Bastards went with the action, things like that, you'll probably get a kick out of that.
That's a great comparison.
Yeah. I also thought the kid was good. He wasn't like, I don't know, sometimes
little boy Paul.
Yeah, Paul. Like sometimes, child actors are annoying and distracting, and I thought he was totally fine and normal, and him like emulating the one soldier is really funny to me.
The Dawson, the guy that was writing the book.
Oh yeah,
that's Grey Worm in Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's funny.
Jake
not
Benson.
in it very long.
Raleigh Ritchie. He goes by the rap name Raleigh Ritchie, but his actor name is Jacob Anderson. So yeah. Anyways, I thought that was. So he's British, but he was playing an American, and on Game of Thrones, he definitely does a different accent than British. So I thought that was sorry. It just came to me. I was like, oh yeah, we got to mention Jacob Anderson.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, Duane, normally this is the part where I would say, where can people find you? But you're not like a big social media, like you're not on all the things.
No, I'm not on all the things. I'm that weird guy that's like, I'm fine with Facebook. That's all I need. Thanks, guys. and there's been plenty of times when John Oliver has almost got me to sign up for Twitter, but I'm like, I'll get around to it sooner or later. So someday I'll break, and then I'll be on Twitter and Instagram and all that ish.
Instagram's where it's at. I think you could have a really cool paper craft folding thing on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think all the stuff you do is really cool, and I think people are interested in seeing that kind of stuff.
It would be, especially if it was from the beginning, yes. But I'm kind of semi-retired from it because I just don't have any room much in my office for that stuff anymore.
I love that you're retired from it.
from a hobby.
I'm saying I'm semi-retired. I'll do things on occasion, but
you're not
doing it nonstop is just sort of like I got no more room. What do I do?
You're like a guy who does ship in a bottle models, but like he everywhere he walks, you just hear jingling glass. poor Duane.
Exactly. And I have to be very careful where I step so I don't knock over those ships and bottles.
Yeah. All right. Well, if anybody has any questions or comments for Duane, either A, keep them to yourself, or B, message me at on Instagram or Twitter at VTRT Movies, or you can find us on Facebook. Woohoo! Des, you want to?
I'm on Instagram, Blueprint Betty at Blueprint Betty.
You have a cool Instagram. See, Duane, you're missing out on our Instagram post. She has a really cool Instagram.
I do all right. It's mostly design related.
But it's always like
nerdy thing.
It's always like cool, like artsy, like cool angles of things or really unique looking things. So
yeah. I try.
Lots of cool patterns and stuff.
Yeah, I try to make it not like every other design Instagram where it's like 20 million pictures of white and beige interiors that all look the same and are super boring.
All right. Duane, anything else you want to say to the viewsters?
Hopefully I'll be back in the near future. Hopefully this goes well, and I'll probably be hearing from you guys eventually, sooner or later.
Oh yeah, we'll get you back on again. All right. Damn. Everyone, until next time, Bon Cinema.